welcome to yet another episode of Final Game Music with me, your host, Kristoffer Schenström. And this is episode 131 on the thematic of Warpzone, and this is the 4th edition of it. So Warpzone is basically a thematic that I pick up when I don't really have that much time, or that I just want to talk about games that I've played recently, or games that I'm really fond of. And this time it was due to time, because I won't be able to record this as I usually do. And for this week I've only picked 2 different games, but we're going to play 2 songs from each and every game here we're talking about. So basically, let's get to it. So what I wanted to start out with is actually a game I really find interesting in many ways, and I really do enjoy the music for this one. So let's start out with Botanic Panic from the game Cuphead. Botanic Panic from the game Cuphead, and I really do enjoy this song. I really like the whole jazziness, and I don't know exactly the subgenres of this, so I will just say this is just jazzy. I think I will leave it at that so I don't embarrass myself. But I really do enjoy this game. It's super fun. Even though it's super hard, but I really do enjoy the graphical art style of this game, but I really enjoy how tight the controllers are as well. So even though you are losing a hell lot of times, you are usually just blaming yourself for not being able to see patterns or to get to something. And sometimes some bosses might feel a little bit cheaty, but at the same time, but when you started to see all these patterns and what the hell is going on with the different attacks that the boss do, then you can start utilizing this to your own advantage. And I really do enjoy all the tightness that comes with Cuphead. So it is a super solid game. I really love the soundtrack. There's a lot of awesome songs within this soundtrack. So when it comes to the soundtrack then, because I've said soundtrack a couple of times now, I feel, but the soundtrack was fully composed by the Canadian Christopher Madigan. The game, it was developed by the Canadian studio MDHR. And the game, it was released back in the 29th of September 2017, and this was the initial release that was for Xbox One and PC. The game later got a release for Mac in 2018, and in 2019 the game also got releases for the Nintendo Switch, and lastly in 2020 we got the release also on the PlayStation 4. I myself have played this game through Steam on my PC, and I have enjoyed it. I haven't completed this game yet. I actually started recently on my stream to start getting into Cuphead a little bit, but starting at this dragon boss, I don't know if you guys know this one, but on the second island, because you would jump from different islands. If I remember correctly and understood correctly, there's 4 islands within this game with a lot of boss battles and such. And I'm at the second island currently, and I only have, I think it is the last boss left before I can continue to the next isle. And when it comes to the songs, going back to the song we were just listening to, the Botanic Panic, this is a song that is heard on the first island, most likely because this is still just a very open game. You can still select some bosses before others, so it's kind of free in how you kind of go into and digging into the different boss battles. And it's not just boss battles, you have these running gun levels as well that are challenging in their own way, but most of all you will be playing these boss battle challenges, so to speak. I'm just thinking a little bit so I can get everything straight out of there. But you will most likely play Botanic Panic as one of the first levels, as this is one of the first levels you basically see from the starting screen after you play the tutorial or after you left the teacups or teapots house. And then you will start seeing this overworld that you can walk around on. You can start talking to different people standing around. I don't know if you call them people either, because there's just the craziness going on with this game. Like, everything has a life almost. With Botanic Panic you have potatoes and carrots and stuff like that it actually is the bosses within this game, and I really do enjoy it. So when it comes to Botanic Panic, it was a challenging but quite easy type of challenge, but I was enjoying this music so freaking much, together with the animations going on the screen with this boss fight, because it's so great at fitting well. And I think when it comes to the composer, Christopher has done an amazing job with setting the right type of feeling towards the different boss battles that we have. It always seems like it fits. And I can say that for all the different bosses I've played thus far, but I have gone through the whole discography for this game and listened to all the songs, and I really do enjoy them. So I'm just looking forward to start playing all the other types of bosses and everything. But looking at Christopher here, he's a percussionist drummer who has won a BAFTA prize, or BAFTA award as they call it. It's not prizes, they're awards. And he does have a great resume, but when it comes to video game music, then he have only worked on the game Cuphead. So most of his work are for movies, series, and so on. So just looking at what he's done in video game, he has done the soundtrack for Cuphead, but his latest work is actually for the Cuphead DLC, The Delicious Last Course, which was released last year. And with that said, and before me going on more about the soundtrack, I want us to listen to the second song from the Cuphead soundtrack. So we're going to listen to one of the songs that actually has lyrics, and the reason why I'm actually picking this song, that's what I'm going to tell you after the song is played. So let's go with Cuphead with the song Die House, which is the Mr. King Dice main theme song.
I'm Mr. King Dice, I'm the gamest in the land. I never play nice, I'm the devil's right-hand man. I can't let you pass, 'cause you ain't done everything. Bring me those contracts, come on, bring them to the king. If you haven't finished your class, haven't worked assiduously, no, I cannot let you pass. Don't you mess with me. Don't mess with King Dice.
Don't mess with King Dice.
Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with him.
Don't mess with King Dice.
Don't mess with King Dice.
Don't mess with me.
That was the Die House, Mr. King Dice main theme song from the game Cuphead. So what's so special about this one? And when I first was choosing songs, so to speak, I was actually like, I really like this Die House song, and I really like the lyrics to it. I really like that when you're actually heading, because from each and every island you need to visit this Die House, and just as he sings, and he's the Dice King is basically blocking you off from getting to the next section unless you collect all the contracts. Because basically within this game you made a deal with the devil, you lose a bet, so you make a deal with the devil that you will start collecting contracts from everybody who owns their soul basically to the devil. So Mugman and Cuphead is going around and basically beating all these different creatures within the land, collecting their contracts back for the devil, and you basically give these contracts to the Dice King. So he's not letting you pass and continues on your journey to collect more contracts before you actually collect everything from one island and go through the die house to go to the next island. And you get to hear this tune as you go into the die house, and you haven't collected all the contracts yet. So he will just stand there and snap his finger, digging the beat, and you will have these people screaming without, but they're not in the screen, but you have the music there with the singing and everything. And it's really, really neat, and I really like the extra touch to this one. So looking at this and having the lyrics here, it's such an amazing voice actor that we have here, and the singer for Mr. King Dice. And the person behind this is none other than the Canadian vocalist and actor Alana Bridgewater, a girl. And I really love this one, so I actually had to look through, because she does have a Q&A video posted on her own YouTube channel, where she answers different questions that people have asked. I don't know for how long or something like that, but people have asked certain questions and just takes them up. And one of the questions was, how did she get her voice so deep? And she explains that her one of her registers is actually called alto. That's her kind of register for where her voice is and where she can put her voice. And that is actually one of the lowest voice registers that a female can have in her category, so to speak, and when it comes to women. And because of that, she is able to sing very closely to many of the men that sings. So that's what's happening when you hear this voice. So I actually thought at first it was a guy singing for this one. It never come to mind that it could be a girl singing this one. So I was utterly surprised getting this information. So it was super fun. So to reach Mr. King Dice's voice, you had to warm up and add a little bit of growl into the mix here to almost get a sense of Cab Calloway, which were an American jazz singer back in the day. And this was specifically that type of voice that was asked of her by Christopher, the composer. And when it came to the different voices, she actually had a lot of different freedom to experiment with the voice, as they did not know if it was going to be either a male character or a female character at the first point here. So when it came to Alana here, she actually did not get any references for the character and so on. So she kind of worked with this character in the blinds, but looking at it in the perspective that we have today, I'm really amazed with the voice she really has for Mr. King Dice. I really think it fits super well with him. It makes him sound and look so badass together with the voice, and I really, really love it. And I do hope you guys loved it as well, because I would definitely say, when it comes to remixes and everything, Die House is one of my favorite ones from this whole album. There's still a lot of good remixes out there, so I'm not saying they're bad or anything. I'm just saying that this is one of my favorites when it comes to this soundtrack. It's so freaking good. And heading away from here, it's kind of hard going away from having this start with the amazing soundtrack from Cuphead. But I actually want to go into a newer game. Well, it's not newer per se. I think Cuphead is actually newer than this game. But this is a game I recently played on my stream as well, before I got back to Cuphead and started to rework my strategies there. But I'm going to play music from the game Valfaris. And this, my friends, is a freaking metal game. So let's enjoy Infectious Fear. Valfaris and the song Infectious Fear. And if somebody knows a more metal game than Valfaris, I'm all ears. I'm freaking all ears. Because damn, this game is so freaking amazing when it comes to just metalness. I cannot really say much more that can define this game than metal. The music is freaking metal. The guy is basically headbanging, acquiring items. Metal. And there's so freaking much going on. They have monsters, they have swords, they have laser guns, and everything is so metal with this game. Even Brutal Legend has less metal than this game, in my opinion, and it's so freaking crazy. I know, looking at Brutal Legend, you have all these different metal legends in this game, but you don't have that in Valfaris. But just looking at it and playing Valfaris, you can just say this game is freaking metal. So when it comes to the music for this game, this was actually composed by the ex-member of the metal band Celtic Frost, the American Kurt Victor Bryant. The game, it was developed by a small American studio called Steel Mantis, and the game was released on the 10th of October 2019, and this game was released for PC. And later the game got a port for PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, and this happened in 2020. Looking at Kurt here, he has actually only worked for music for 2 video games, since he is a metal band artist playing, if I remember correctly, he was playing bass initially in the Celtic Frost band. But looking at his list here for video games, he's actually worked on Valfaris, this game, and before that it was the studio's first game, Slain Back to Hell, which was released back in 2016. And looking at that time, that studio was actually called Wolf Brew Games when they released that game, Slain Back to Hell, that is. And for some reason, it is the same people behind the whole game and such, but it doesn't really explain why they kind of changed the name of the studio, but they did. So it is the same people behind both of these games, and it is not that many people either. And looking at Valfaris, it's just... At first I actually thought this game was some sort of Metroidvania type of game, but this is more like the original Contra series. It's a run and gun kind of game where you basically have 3 types of attacks. You have a main attack, which basically is the easiest way to damage enemies. It doesn't cost any resources of some sort, and you can just fire away as much as you want. And then you have your melee attack, which is more limited, so you can't reach that far. In the beginning, it's a sword, and you use this one to basically collect energy. And the energy is actually used for the third and last attack, and it's the so-called heavy attack. And usually this could be like a rocket launcher, flamethrower, shotgun, and so on. And these are basically a lot of different weapons that you can collect throughout the run. So looking at the time, I think it took me about 2 or 3 hours to complete. Maybe it was 4 hours to complete this game in full for my first run. But looking at people speedrunning this, and I'm looking at you, Furion, people are super fast at playing this game. So people are usually playing around 1 hour and some even shorter. So I'm super amazed at people just speedrunning this game, but everybody knows speedrunners are freaking crazy, so... But this game goes through different kinds of scenarios, and you have a multiple line of different environments you're going through while heading through some sort of story where you play the son of Vrol, and basically you need to just find your father, or you try to find it, but you kind of get stuck from each and every corner all the time, and you don't really know where your father is in the end. But yeah, it's a super exciting game. I really enjoyed this one. And before I'm going more specifically into what I really liked about this game and what I found more frustrating with it, let's listen to the last song of this week. So let's enjoy Valfaris and the song Lost in Time. I was headbanging all the way through that track, Lost in Time from the game Valfaris. And yeah, as you might have guessed already, this was actually the last boss battle, the final battle tune that you hear. And I really enjoy this song, mostly because you have the kind of, I would say, kind of background chorus singing to this one. So you had a couple of sections within this song where you're, ah, ah, ah. And I really like that part. And quickly right after that one, you have the synth, I think, that comes into this one, playing a little bit of part, kind of making a little switch within, and then start again with all the heavy guitaring. And I really enjoy this soundtrack so freaking much. I do enjoy rock and roll and metal a lot. I'm more towards the symphonic metal, but just listening to this soundtrack and playing this game, usually you have something to kind of compensate for gameplay towards the music, depending on what type of feeling you want to strive for within a game. But looking at Valfaris, you kind of have this super heavy soundtrack all the freaking time. Maybe it can be stressful to some people, but when it comes to this game, it fit so freaking well. I gotta say, this is like I would say like a hidden gem when it comes to music, comparing it and utilizing it for the experience, because it fits so well to the part with graphics, how that part look. It kind of have this kind of sprite. Usually when I'm talking about this game with friends, I usually say it kind of reminds me of a Sega Saturn sometimes, looking at the type of graphic that we have for this game. But it's more striving towards having some sort of pixel, sweet pixel style, but it's not full pixel either, because they utilize 3D polygons and stuff like that for the different characters and for the enemies and such. And everything looks like it's like, it doesn't fit really there, but it fits really well with the whole scene. But if you take just one enemy apart from the experience, it kind of feels like it's out of context a bit. And that's what it kind of... That's what I feel is bad with the game, but I really like the unique art style that it shows for this game. But what I really like within this game is actually it is not a Metroidvania as I first thought. Having just the experience of going from A to B all the time and just pushing forward, getting a couple of vehicles that basically just is destruction, which is super fun as well. You will die easy with this one, with this game, because it kind of is a hard contract-ish game. So you can still die very, very quickly, but there are some mechanics within this game that I actually got to know through Furion, which is a speedrunner on this game. And he told me that if you just collect one of these resources, you will basically get more and more HP. So you can kind of, instead of upgrading your weapons, you can instead gain HP. So it's kind of a balance between having a really upgraded and nice weapon and having a lot of HP, so you can kind of compensate from that. And the resources that you use for upgrading, you will basically just have a maximum roof of how many you can have, so you will need to upgrade your weapons as well. So there's no worries beside that part. It's only if you're missing out and not exploring, because you do have some small routes to gain these blood metal power-ups or resources, so to speak. So I really do enjoy this game. Some of the boss battles are super fun, some of them are hard, and you're still pushing through to try and get the boss fight as best as possible. But overall, it's a hell of a recommendation from me. I really did enjoy this game. There were only a few times you got frustrated. So if you do like Contra-type games, it's a high recommendation from me. And with that said, I kind of will put this in the bag and hope you guys enjoyed the songs that I played for you guys this week from Cuphead and from the game Valfaris. And with that said, let's actually end the episode. This is a little bit shorter, but I cannot bullshit for for a long time, and I don't want to go in too many details because I don't think that would be very interesting, especially when we're talking about the soundtracks here and trying to talk as much as possible about the composers as well. And I know already for this episode I'm already talking more about the game than the composers themselves, but since both of these composers haven't done that much before and only worked on one game each, I would say this is a pretty unique episode. And still talking about the music and still talking about the game makes me really happy though. So, other episodes of Finally Game Music, you can find those on Videospelsklubben.se, Spotify, or in your closest podcast app. Feel free to give us a follow or comment on one of our social media, such as Facebook or Instagram. Just search for Äntligen Spelmusik. I'm actually trying to rebrand everything to Finally Game Music until I've actually found a really great name that I can actually utilize for this podcast now when we have it on English. And if you would like to hear your name within one of these episodes, you can either request a song for an upcoming episode by commenting on one of our social media pages or through our Discord server, and you'll find the link to that one in Videospelsklubben.se's page. You can also support this podcast for future content and quality upgrades. I actually really need a headset soon because I can feel that my headset is currently breaking down, and I really want to upgrade the podcast quality both for myself when working with it with programs and such. I'm still using free software to edit all of my episodes, and I'm still buying a lot of music as well for each and every episode. So I would looking forward to kind of bring the community together to bring the best experience within this podcast as well. And there's a lot of podcasts touching the subject of video game music as well that is super great and needs more support. And I think it's not just the podcast that should get the support, it's also the future composers specifically. So if you want to support this podcast and support future composers in the end, feel free to become a Patreon today. For our current backers that we have today, which are super awesome, I love them all for being backers, we have Mikael Sjöberg, Andreas Nilsson, and Daniel Onemark. Thank you so much for being Patreons and supporting this podcast. Links to where you can either support the composers or listen to the music in some way that's supporting the composers, you will find those in the main post on Videospelsklubben.se. And the next episode, we're going to take yet another composer, and this one will be for Junko Osawa. And I have no freaking clue on what type of music we will be hearing, because since she has done so much, it's gonna be hard to specify one or two or something like that. But it's gonna be amazing to see what she has gone through. With that said, have a freaking great week, everybody, and do take care, and see you all next time.